For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise, and you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Thank you very much, Larson. Jeremy Bradley here. This is The Scribble, and let me start out by saying Happy Pride, everybody. Happy Pride. It's a little bittersweet for me because right now, if you're listening to this on the weekend, I should be in Denver at Denver Pride. We were going to be there once again with our Happy Bulge Swim Company booth, hawking all the great merchandise. Actually, have we even talked about this on the show ever? For a year and a half, our company has had Happy Bulge Swim Company, so it's got men's swimwear and then also Pride t-shirts and accessories and things like that. Last year, we went to 5 different Pride events. We were in Winnipeg, my hometown. We were in Calgary, Palm Springs, San Francisco, and Phoenix. And we launched in Phoenix last April. And we had a whole slate of them scheduled for this year. We were supposed to be in Phoenix at the beginning of April. We were supposed to be in Fort Lauderdale. We even taped travel programming in Fort Lauderdale when we were there in February. It's never aired because who's traveling now? And we were supposed to be in Denver this weekend. We were supposed to be in Winnipeg, my hometown. Was it already or it's coming up? Either way, every Pride event really has been canceled. So I'm kind of just like, oh, I'm not traveling anywhere. I'm not celebrating Pride. So I am, though. We are this week on the podcast because Montel Williams, who is a great supporter of the LGBTQ LMNOP community, is joining us today. And really, I always want to hear why celebrities lend their voice to a cause. What makes them stand up and say, you know what, I'm going to be your voice. I'm going to speak up for you. So looking forward to celebrating Pride with Montel. Let's talk about Pride for a second, too, because there's been this whole thing about, well, at least with Black Lives Matter and, you know, police antics, let's call it. And I think I talked about it on the show a couple of weeks ago where there was this tweet and then it was forwarded to me by actually a few people because I don't use my platforms, whether it's social media or what have you, to crusade, right? I just don't do that. And I wrote a column and I wrote a newspaper column about this saying, I'm certainly not a celebrity. I'm not suggesting that I am, but you have people coming at you all the time to support, give to this, you know, do this, hey, can you retweet this, hey, can you share this? And pretty soon your feed or your page ends up just becoming one big public service announcement. And I like to keep things upbeat and sarcastic and silly and stupid and offensive, I guess, if you don't have a sense of humor. And so I just don't do that. So there was this tweet that said, you know, for any white people who are influencers or celebrities who don't use their channel, you know, you're racist and whatever. And I just think that that's so ridiculous because you can support a cause, but not stand on your soapbox and preach to people. And the way I relate this to Pride is that, again, our company, Speak Free Media, you know, pretty much like, you know, donated and supported to 5 different Pride events last year. So we were supporting the local communities. I was in each of those cities. I was at each event. I was doing selfies with people. I was, you know, having a good time, but I didn't feel the need to pat myself on the back and tell everybody about this all the time, right? I didn't need to do a big tweet saying, we are happy to, you know, make a donation to San Francisco Pride. We just do things like that. I always kind of feel that it's self-serving at that point. I did it, I feel good about it, and that's really what matters. Right? It made a difference to people there. We helped some people. We, you know, gave away a bunch of free stuff, and that's what matters. Like, it makes me feel like a good person. And so for me, and maybe this is just selfishness, but for me, that's all that matters. Is at the end of the day, I know that, you know, I work very, very hard for our company works very, very hard for its money, and we give it where and when we feel that we can and when we want to. But to pressure somebody into, because this is my thing. Absolutely, companies are now going full stop on Pride, changing their logo to have a rainbow in it or something like that. And then the Black Lives Matter campaign. People are, companies and people are posting that. But at the same time, this is where I challenge that and say, how many of them, though, are just doing it for PR? Just because it's the right thing to do and it makes them look good. Do they really feel that way? And so that's where it's a little bit weird to then pressure somebody and say, well, if you don't do it, you're racist. You're complicit. You're part of the problem. Excuse me. And I'm not even one of those people who goes and says, I have black friends. This is not even about that. This is the expectation that people can choose to post what they want or say what they want or publicly speak on what they want. So again, going back to the whole Pride thing, absolutely, I have supported, me personally, by going there and being with people. I've personally supported at least 5 different cities' Pride festivals last year, but I didn't need to tell the world about it. And again, pat myself on the back and say, look, I'm a good person because I support the gay Pride community. Here's the deal. I've also been called homophobic. Excuse me. I have a Brazilian fitness model husband, by the way, who is a great lover and, is a great parent to our pets and all that other. So it's kind of one of those things where people also sort of need to know the background about you before they go and jump to conclusions. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm a big homophobe. But meanwhile, I'm a big old sucker. Really, let's think about things like that. And again, this is where it's dangerous in today's world. It's no different than if you accuse somebody of rape or anything like that. That's a major charge to bestow upon somebody. You need to be careful. So if you go and say that somebody is racist we know that we're living in cancel culture. And so it's only a matter of time before the mob rallies and looks to destroy your life or your career or anything like that. I support communities, but I just don't need, I adopted a dog 9 years ago. His birthday is actually in just a few days. But do I go and crusade about, adopting pets is the right thing to do? No, because people know right from wrong. I don't feel, and maybe, yes, if I were a big-time celebrity, an A-list or whatever, then, yeah, maybe my words would matter a little bit more. But just because I don't, there's so many things that you can believe in or support, and because I'm not waving the flag or posting about it and testifying and all these things, doesn't mean that I'm against it or, and so I feel like it's really unfair. And again, this is not specifically about, Black Lives Matter or George Floyd or whatever, or Pride or any of those things. It's just a matter of, let people have their own thoughts, beliefs, and let them do what they want with their time. This is also part of the reason why I kind of just retreat. I lead a very down-low lifestyle where I'm not out there all the time. I have no interest in social media. I think it even says that on my Instagram page, where it's like, yeah, don't expect much from this page. Like, I really don't care about social media. I'm here to do my job, which is to entertain you, make you groan about the stupid jokes that I make or the stories I tell, and then that's about it. This is your 30 minutes of time wasting fun on the podcast. Don't expect any sort of in-depth conversation. That's not why I'm here. But that is partially why Montel Williams is here today, and we're going to talk about Pride and his support for the community right after this.
Who are the Kardashians feuding with now? What did that little thug Justin Bieber do this time? Who's getting hitched? And who's headed for Splitsville? Hear the latest celebrity news and gossip every day on Entertainment Wrap-Up. The good, the bad, the ugly, but mostly the ridiculously hilarious. It's all recapped in this daily segment at entertainmentwrapup.com. Have a laugh at the expense of the rich and famous when they take themselves way too seriously. It's 3 minutes of time-wasting fun at entertainmentwrapup.com. Check out Entertainment Wrap-Up at entertainmentwrapup.com. Brought to you by Speak Free Books.
Isn't it crazy that you wait for payday, but before you know it, you're strapped for cash again? It's time to stop blowing your money and become a smart spender with the book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com. Learn simple ways to cut costs at home every day and during special times of the year. Don't go broke at Christmas. Don't remortgage the house for a fancy vacation. The book is filled with tips to save you money throughout the year. Check out the best-selling book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com or on Amazon and iTunes.
As we celebrate Pride Month, I thought we should check in with one of the biggest supporters of the community. The legend Montel Williams is joining us on the line. Hi, Montel.
How are you, sir? Thanks so much for having me today.
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing great. Doing well as it can be expected in this, I don't know, it's tumultuous time that we live in, but yes.
Well, I mean, let's sort of talk about that first. Obviously, you had a great talk show back in the day. If you were still doing the Montel Williams Show from the 90s and 2000s, if you're doing that today, what topics would you be covering? Would you be on the, Black Lives Matter, coronavirus? Like, what would you be covering?
I'd be covering every social issue of the day, and that's what our show did while I was on the air for 17 years, is we covered every single, violent act that took place when we had, mass shootings across the country. We covered those. We covered anything that was going on and the people were talking about. So I would be covering this in depth, and not just Black Lives Matter, but I'd be covering the state of American politics.
Mm-hmm. And I guess we've sort of seen the talk show go the way of like cable news programming now, in a sense.
Yeah, I think it's because, I think the talk world lost the ability to do anything but confrontational, lowest denominator TV. And, I think if more were to spend time speaking and talking about issues that most Americans want to know a lot more about, I think you would still see the plethora of shows that you've seen before. But, when we denigrate it down to the lowest common denominator, I think it went by the wayside.
And doesn't it almost seem, I mean, I'm certainly not making light of the issues in today's society, but doesn't it seem like those crazy relationship stories are a walk in the park? And then when you look at what's going on in the world now?
Yeah, but I think, if you go back and were to see some of my schedule of my show during my last 5 years on the air, we didn't just do crazy relationships. We did issues facing America. We talked about the LGBT issues. Mm-hmm. We talked about issues of crime. We talked about issues of, bad policing. We talked about those issues, and I think that those things would still be resonating today if, in fact, we had a platform that literally gave, respect to the issue rather than trying to come up with some salacious center point that would bring in the lowest denominator of viewer. And, if you think about it, I mean, the talk show was really the original reality show, I mean, in a sense. It was the original show that allowed people a forum to speak their mind and feel like they had a place that they could be heard. Now we do it in, the housewives of this or the lives of these and the lives of these. It's just a different version.
I mentioned at the top that you're a big supporter of the LGBTQ community, and so I always like to ask celebs, why do you lend your voice? Of course, we appreciate it. I'm certainly not suggesting that. But what makes you say, you know what, I'm going to stand up for this group or this cause?
How about, it's not an individual group that I stand for, as I try my best to speak for those who don't have a voice. And whether it be LGBTQ, whether it be those who are differently abled, whether it be our veterans of the day, I've been speaking out and on record for doing so for any of those groups that have been, marginalized in our society. And, when it comes to the LGBT community, even though we saw, just I should say, Happy Pride Week and Happy Pride Month to all those who are listening. But, I mean, at the same time, when we just saw, Supreme Court come down with what would end up being a resonating landmark decision, there's still so much work that needs to be done, so much more that needs to be said. And so I don't mind taking advantage of the fact that, I was invited into People's Living Room for 17 years and did well over 3,000 shows with over 28,000 guests seated on stage beside me. I don't mind using that voice now to speak out for those who don't get a forum.
And people might not realize that you played a big role in the movement with regard to discrimination laws in several states.
Well, I don't pat myself on the back, but I think, I've been out there, been vocal. I've participated in forums at the Republican National Convention, believe it or not, on the issue and spoken out as often as I possibly can to ensure, the fact that These are Americans who participated in every aspect of our society since the dawn of our society, and should get the representation that they demand, that our Constitution affords them, and should have the rights of every other citizen who's been a contributing, tax-paying citizen in this country all along.
It's interesting to hear that you've covered these on your talk show so many years ago, and then we fast forward all these, well, a couple decades now, and it's sort of disappointing that a little bit has changed, but not enough.
It's really disappointing that, you think that mankind as a species would have evolved some over the course of the last 10 years, looking at the fact that technology has evolved at a rocket's pace, but mankind seems to be devolving at a snail's pace, and continues to do so rather than evolve. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I can't believe that, some of the issues that we talked about, we spoke about, we looked at, we took apart, all we're doing is just recycling the same conversations nowadays, but not trying to move forward towards solutions.
And you've been front and center with your CBD products and your line, which, I mean, that community has really progressed over the years, and it's come a long way since your talk show days as well.
Well, I think a lot of people know that long before it became vogue and long before it became a green rush, I've been involved in legislation and trying to ensure patients have safe access and private conversations with their doctors since really 2000. Since the year 2000. And hoping that we can evolve and understand that, something that, and most of your listeners probably don't even know, but when you hear the term CBD, you think, that's something that's kind of new. No. Our federal government filed for a patent for CBD back in 2001 and gave itself a patent back then. And in that patent, if you read the abstract, they wrote unequivocally what they see as the efficaciousness of a cannabinoid, one of the cannabinoids that we now know that there's probably well over 160 of them in the hemp cannabis plant. Mm-hmm. So this is something that I didn't get involved in the last 2 or 3 years. This is something I've been doing now for 20 years, advocacy-wise around the nation, trying to make sure that, what we find in research and what we understand through scientific study that's been validated gets extrapolated out and can be used as a product in the marketplace. And so, I got involved, again, like I say, back almost 20 years ago. And then as I started to see, the industry take turns that I really wasn't that happy with, I decided to produce and design my own brand, and which is right now we're in the middle of finding a new product or a contract manufacturer. So we're off the shelves a little bit, but just keep an eye on my email and keep an eye on my social media, and we'll let you know in the next few months when we'll be back as strong as we were before. But yes, I've developed out a product line that's not just CBD, but it is a cannabinoid broad spectrum product that helps to, I think, contribute to overall wellness by actually being an antagonist to our natural endocannabinoid system that we have in our bodies.
Yeah, there's a lot of great resources and information on your website. What's the website for everybody to check out?
Well, you can really follow me on my podcast, which is Let's Be Blunt with Montel. That runs, and I drop a new one almost once a week. And that podcast is bringing you information about everything and anything cannabis to help, the layperson literally navigate, this really daunting landscape out there right now and try to help you understand some of the information that you should look for and seek when you're trying to, or you're thinking about or considering utilizing cannabis as a wellness product for your family.
Oh, absolutely. And now, you mentioned social media. We don't generally talk politics on this show, but we've talked, government and things like that. You've been very outspoken about policies and even the president. If I give you one word to describe President Trump, what would it be? Okay. Explanation, or just leave it at that?
I mean, in all respects, especially as you take a look at what is going on right now when we see, we're in the middle of a global pandemic, and this person is about to convince people who literally should know better that it's okay to come together in crowds of 20,000 and more and not social distance, not wear a mask, and come together. And when you do so, make sure you sign a release saying that you won't hold them responsible for that. I don't know if we've ever had a president in the history of this country ask people to sign a document that says, I won't hold you responsible for what you've done to us. That's really insane. And especially when we look right now today at the fact that we have, 18 states where virus numbers are going up, and it has nothing to do with testing results. It has to do with the fact that this pandemic is spreading as quickly as it is.
And it's really, it's shut down events all over the world, right? Back to Pride. Every Pride event this summer and for most of this year has been canceled, but a political convention, the show must go on. It's very bizarre.
It's extremely bizarre.
Yeah.
And bizarre the fact that we are denying truth in every single direction. You can put a pinwheel up or put a wheel up and break it into 360 points, and in every single direction there's a lie.
Mm-hmm. Finally, in our last remaining moments here, if I give you the Montel Williams float in the Pride Parade, design it for me here right now. What's on your Pride Parade float?
Of course, my float would be representative of the colors that represent the LGBT community, but it would also have a pretty large banner that just says, respect me as you would want others to respect yourself.
I love that. That's awesome. Well, what a great message. And Montel, thank you so much for celebrating Pride with us. Happy Pride to you.
Absolutely, sir. Happy Pride to you and all of your listeners. And remember, these are our mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, aunts, uncles. These are people who we claim to love. And how dare we disrespect those that are our own family members this way and not give them and show them the support that they need just to live the same life that you want to live.
Absolutely. All right. So Montel Williams, will be checking out your social media, your podcast, your websites, everything. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks so much for having me. Take care of yourself.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. Speak Free with JB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
It's never too early to start thinking about your next holiday. Have you checked out Mexico recently? From tequila tasting, swimming with horses, to ziplining through the jungle and watching whales and dolphins in their natural habitat, Puerto Vallarta has it all. Visit mexico.jbonair.com to see all the fun PV has to offer. That's at mexico.jbonair.com for hundreds of photos, interviews, and videos from around the tourist hotspot. Check out mexico.jbonair.com for all the fun. That's mexico.jbonair.com.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on the Scribble. We have I call it a crackpot team, depending on the day of the week. But while I was chatting with Montel, I got a note from one of my colleagues just across the way who said, show us the receipts that I supported Pride. Excuse me, Suzanne, who was at one of them with me. Thank you very much. And Suzanne, who was even in Fort Lauderdale when we did travel programming in February, when we were going to be doing the Fort Lauderdale Pride as well this year. Yeah, exactly. But they know that I'm a cheapskate, or as they like to call it, a tightwad. But I like to keep that behind closed doors at home, my tightwaddedness. All right. Oh boy, this is going in all sorts of different directions that I didn't expect. Again, speaking of Pride, it is Pride Month, and again, shout out to our friends in Denver who I was supposed to be hanging out with this year. But with everything going digital and online or streaming or whatever, how are you having celebrations this year? We've had a few birthday parties in our family, and obviously as the restrictions have eased, we've been able to get together with more people, family birthdays. And even when this all started, we had a funeral almost right at the very beginning, and it was awkward. And I'm fairly certain I talked about it on the show either in March or whenever it was, that it didn't seem right. This is when everybody was starting to elbow people to say hi, right? Instead of shaking hands or hugging, you would elbow. That didn't catch on, did it? I don't think that I've seen people elbowing. At least not in the sense that it was a greeting hello, right? Are you, tell me, okay, here we go. Email me, live at jbonair.com. Are you doing the elbow? You know what I'm talking about, the elbow thing, right? When people are like, oh, I can't touch your hand, oh, I can't shake, oh, I can't get too close, I'm going to elbow. I guess now with the 6 feet thing, you wouldn't be able to do it. Maybe that's why people aren't doing it. But no, truly, I have not seen anybody do the elbow pump. I don't know what it's called. But it looked so stupid anyway. I don't blame people for not doing it. But anyway, it was just awkward to go to a family funeral and not be able to, do hugs and things like that, because it just seems so impersonal. Like, I kind of felt, and I realize that the virus doesn't, discriminate whether it's a family member that you're hugging or what, but certainly, it just, if there's a time that you want to put yourself at risk of getting something from somebody, it's a relative who needs a hug, don't you think? Maybe not. And again, people, knowing how the mob reacts, I wouldn't be surprised if all of a sudden I'm part of cancel culture. But no, I mean, it's like, yeah, I realize that, yeah, going near your grandma and stuff like that is dangerous and what have you. But yeah, again, I just kind of feel like, I don't know, I'm not trying to kill her, but if I come down with an illness because I was able to share a few minutes of, closeness with a relative, I'll take that. Depending on the relative now. Let me actually be clear on this. I wouldn't do it for everybody. for that uncle that you hate or that cousin you can't stand, no, you don't risk it for them. But, for a grandma, I mean, come on. No, this is the thing, back when I started doing radio 15 years ago, you didn't have to tread lightly like that. You didn't have to, watch what you say. You didn't, and I'm certain that when I asked Montel that question about, the one word to describe Trump, I'm gonna be called a Hillary supporter and a bitter Hillary and a bootlicker and all these things that I was called when I was making fun of the people who were rioting and looting and burning down their neighborhoods. What's the point of that? Really, what do you gain from that? That'd be like saying, like, I'm fed up with the police, so I'm going to go smash the windows of my own house. Ha ha ha, I'll show you. Okay. Yeah. Anyway. We have to... Oh, let's do a shout-out for Twitter.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up the Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter at The Scribble Show and at thescribbleshow.com.
All right, we've got 2 minutes remaining. So again, if you are celebrating Pride this weekend or next weekend even with Global Pride happening, check out happybulge.com. Happy Bulge Swim Company is our line of swimwear and Pride t-shirts. There's some really good... I can swear on this show, right? We've got a really cute t-shirt that says, kiss whoever the fuck you want. And that, by the way, last year when we were at all these different Pride events, that was one of the most popular shirts in every city. Kiss whoever the fuck you want. And it's got a rainbow flag on it. So check that one out. Again, it's happybulge.com. And on social media, I believe... I'm going to get in trouble. It is just Happy Bulge, right? On your Facebook, Instagram, whatever accounts. Happy Bulge, yes. Check it out. And going back to that thing about how are you celebrating this year, send me an email. If you regularly go to your local Pride events, and you can't because it's all been canceled, some of them are streaming things on the internet, tell me how you're celebrating Pride. Is it just something in your neighborhood, in your backyard? You're going to have a couple cocktails and get all sloppy? Send me an email, live at jbonair.com. Again, my thanks to Montel Williams. Appreciate the chat, big guy, the legend as I describe him, and I will talk to you all, right, Oh my God, we've got 30 seconds now. This is where vamping really comes into play, everybody. I'm the one who said I've been on radio for 15 years. I can handle this. Happy Pride. Stay safe, everybody. Be respectful and responsible in your community. And I will talk to you same time, same place next week. Thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing. Have a great weekend, everybody. Bye-bye for now.
Want more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter at The Scribble Show. The Scribble is a speak-free media presentation.